What you're about to hear is not just motivation, it's revelation. Because there are some things in life you don't need louder music for. You need truth. You need perspective. You need to know the silence you're living in is not the end. It's a beginning dressed like nothing. A delay dressed like a denial. A quiet moment dressed like abandonment. But let me tell you the truth. You've forgotten God is not delaying you, He's preparing you. You think you're being punished because the door didn't open. You think you're forgotten because your prayers haven't been answered yet. You think the storm means you're going the wrong way. But what if the storm is the test? What if the silence is the training ground for your next season of greatness? You don't give a child the keys to a kingdom they're not strong enough to carry. And God doesn't hand out blessings to people who won't know what to do with them. So instead of rushing you into something you'd destroy with your current mindset, He pauses you. He humbles you. He breaks your comfort and builds your spirit. Because what's coming next is too big for the old version of you. You're asking, why isn't it happening yet? But God is saying, if I gave it to you now, it would crush you. You're praying for the stage, but God's working on your character. You're begging for the spotlight, but God's trying to teach you how to shine in the dark. Because if you can't be trusted in the quiet, you won't survive the noise. That job you didn't get, that relationship that fell apart, that opportunity that closed, you thought it was rejection, but it was redirection. You thought it was a delay, but it was divine timing. You thought you were falling behind, but you were being built up. Every no, every closed door, every unanswered prayer is either protecting you or perfecting you. You're not being punished. You're being prepared. See, preparation doesn't look pretty. It looks like being alone while others celebrate. It looks like being consistent when no one claps for you. It looks like showing up to the gym of life with no applause, no recognition, just faith. It looks like being humbled before you're honored. It looks like staying kind when life is unfair. It looks like obedience when your emotions are screaming to quit. But every second of it is holy. Every moment of delay is drenched in purpose. Because God doesn't waste pain. He doesn't waste waiting. He doesn't put you through preparation unless the promise is that big. So stop asking why it's taking so long and start asking, what is this season shaping in me? Because it might be patience. It might be discipline. It might be the strength to hold the blessing without it crushing your spirit. You want the next chapter, but God is editing the current one because He loves you too much to rush your story. You want elevation without foundation. But God is digging deep roots because the tree He's growing in you will stand for generations. This isn't punishment. This is protection. This is love in disguise. Some of the strongest people you'll ever meet spent years in silence. They weren't seen. They weren't posted about. They were planted, not buried, planted. And when the time came, they didn't just rise, they blossomed because the delay wasn't a detour, it was designed. So if you're in that season now where it feels like nothing is happening, where your prayers feel unheard, where your growth feels invisible, I'm here to remind you, you are not behind. You are not forgotten, you are not late, you are being built quietly, carefully, spiritually. And one day, the world will call you an overnight success, not knowing the years God spent working on you in silence. So don't rush the process, don't curse the waiting, don't give up before the fruit appears, because what God is preparing you for is greater than what you're praying for. And when it comes, when the doors open, when the blessings pour in, when your moment finally arrives, you'll understand why the delay was sacred. You'll thank Him for not answering your prayers too early, and you'll realize you were never waiting on God. He was waiting on you to be ready. You ever wonder why life has felt so heavy lately? Why every step forward feels like walking through mud? It's not because you're cursed. It's because you're chosen. Chosen people don't have easy roads. They don't get shortcuts. They get refinement. They get fire. Because God doesn't anoint people for ordinary things. If He's letting the pressure rise, it's because your calling is higher than you can currently carry. So He's stretching you. He's burning off the weakness. He's tearing away the comfort so that what remains is pure, sharp, unbreakable purpose. You keep thinking God has forgotten you, but if He really forgot you, the pressure would stop. It would all go numb. You'd be able to settle and not feel the ache anymore. But the fact that you're still restless, that your spirit still stirs while everyone else sleeps through life, that's not abandonment, that's evidence. Evidence that you're still called, still marked, still under construction. God never goes silent on someone he's done with. He only goes silent on people he's shaping. And silence is not absence, it's strategy. There are times when God will strip everything from you, not to destroy you, but to deliver you from your pride, from your people-pleasing, from your need to prove Sometimes the storm isn't about the situation, it's about the transformation. You thought he was punishing you, but he was pulling you out of small thinking, small circles, and small identity. Because what's ahead requires more than talent or ambition. It requires character, spiritual weight, mental endurance. And that's what he's building in you, day by day, disappointment by disappointment. You're waiting for doors to open, but God is fixing your posture before you walk through them. He doesn't just want you to arrive, he wants you to thrive once you're there. Because too many people get the platform without the foundation and fall. You won't be one of them. That's why it's taking longer. That's why it hurts more. You're being made unshakable. You're being given depth that the surface level world won't understand. But the heavens are watching. The angels know. Your future self will thank you. Because what you're going through isn't random. It's warfare. And you're being armed in silence. Don't let the enemy fool you into thinking delay equals denial. That's his oldest trick. He wants you to believe God isn't listening, that the lack of movement is a sign of rejection. But what if it's the opposite? What if God is so invested in your future that he's protecting it at all costs, even from you? Sometimes we ask for things that would ruin us if we got them too soon. God's delay is mercy in disguise. It's him saying, I love you too much to let you settle for less than what I wrote in your story. And I know it's hard to trust in the silence. I know it's lonely when your faith is the only thing holding you together. But understand this, diamonds are not made in sunlight. They're made in darkness, under intense pressure. That's what's happening in your life. You're not being overlooked. You're being transformed. And when the season shifts, when the blessing finally arrives, it won't be something you stumble into. It will be something your soul is ready for. You'll recognize it not as luck, but as legacy. You've come too far to break now. Don't let impatience steal what you prayed for. Don't let doubt rob you of what's being built in the quiet. If you could see what was forming behind the curtain, you'd stop questioning and start praising. God doesn't waste time. So if you're still here, if you're still waking up, still breathing, still being pulled forward even when you're exhausted, it's because the story isn't done yet. And the ending God is writing is greater than anything you could force into existence on your own. Keep showing up, keep becoming, keep trusting the preparation. Because it's not just about getting what you want, it's about becoming who you're called to be. And when that version of you finally stands on the stage of your destiny, you'll realize every second of waiting was necessary. Every tear was watering the root. Every silent night was laying brick by brick the unshakable ground beneath your purpose. And in that moment, you'll finally say, God, thank you for not giving it to me when I asked, because I wasn't ready. But now there will come a moment, not today, maybe not tomorrow, but soon, when everything will start to make sense. The pain, the isolation, the delays that made you question your worth, they weren't random. They were assignment. God was using every ounce of it to carve something eternal into your soul. Because true greatness isn't built in ease. It's born in fire. It's born in seasons where you feel forgotten, but keep going anyway. Where your faith has no proof, but still refuses to quit. And those seasons, those hidden battles, are the foundation of a life that cannot be shaken by storms. You've been asking for a sign, but you didn't realize your survival is the sign. The fact that you're still breathing after everything you've been through is proof that grace is still working, that purpose is still active. You think it's small, but heaven sees it differently. God sees your effort when no one else does. He sees the quiet moments you keep showing up when everything in you wants to disappear. And I promise you, He will not leave you empty-handed. There is a version of you being built in the dark that will shock the world. But more importantly, It will shock you. One day you'll look in the mirror and see someone who didn't fold when it got hard. Someone who didn't curse God when the blessings didn't come. Someone who stood in the middle of uncertainty and said, "Still I rise." That kind of strength doesn't come from comfort. It comes from being pressed on all sides and not breaking. It comes from being planted in dirt and choosing to grow anyway. Stop thinking you're stuck. You are not stuck. You are stationed. You've been placed exactly where God wants you, not as a punishment, but as preparation. You're not behind. You're being aligned. What looks like delay from your human eyes is precision from His divine eye. He's aligning people, timing, resources, relationships, all to converge at the exact moment when your soul is ready. Not just your ego, because He doesn't want to bless your ego. He wants to bless your character. He wants the foundation to be real, so the blessing doesn't become your downfall. You're praying for the finish line, but God is working on your stride. He's teaching you to run with endurance, not just sprint with excitement. Because life isn't a race, it's a revelation. And what He's revealing in you right now is endurance, patience, wisdom, all the invisible things that no one claps for but heaven celebrates. So don't underestimate what's happening just because you don't see results yet. Seeds grow in silence. Healing happens in shadows. Purpose is forged in private. And when the curtain finally lifts, when the breakthrough comes, people will only see the shine. But you'll know the story. You'll know the nights you cried in silence. You'll remember the mornings you got up with nothing left in the tank but still moved forward. That is what makes the success real. That is what makes the moment sacred. Not that you got there, but how you got there. You didn't fake it. You didn't force it. You let God do the deeper work. And now what He hands you, you'll hold with reverence. So no matter what the world is saying, ignore the timelines. Ignore the noise. Ignore the pressure to be there already. Where is there anyway? This moment right here is part of it. This silence is part of it. This pain is part of it. Every second you feel overlooked. Every second you think it's too late. It's all part of the making. And when God makes something, He doesn't rush. He makes it beautiful in His time, not yours. And when it finally arrives, it won't just be a blessing. It will be a testimony. And here's the part that most people don't understand. Your life is bigger than you. The waiting isn't just about you. It's about the people connected to your obedience. The ones who need the healed version of you, the strong version, the version that's been through the wilderness and came out with fire in their eyes. So don't give up. Not now. Not when you're this close. Something powerful is being written through your struggle. Let the ink dry. Let the silence speak. Let the process finish. Because when it's your time, nothing will be able to stop it. No delay, no enemy, no doubt. What's yours is yours, and it's coming. But only if you don't walk away before it arrives. And I know there are days when you want to quit. Days when it feels like you're carrying a weight no one else sees. You smile in front of people, but behind closed doors, you're exhausted, spiritually, emotionally, even physically. You're tired of pretending to be okay, tired of holding it all together when nothing seems to be working. But hear me, that's not weakness. That's the weight of destiny. People who carry something heavy always walk differently, always fight differently, because they're not just living for now, they're being shaped for forever. This pain you're feeling, it's not proof that you're broken. It's proof that you're being refined. Do you think gold knows it's becoming valuable when it's burning in fire? No, it only knows that everything comfortable is being stripped away. But the fire isn't the end of the story. It's the beginning of purity, of clarity, of worth. That's what's happening to you. You're not being ruined. You're being revealed. Sometimes God doesn't change your circumstances because He's using your circumstances to change you. That's why He's quiet. That's why the path feels unclear. He wants your faith to grow louder than your fear. He wants your discipline to take over when your feelings shut down. Because if your life is led by emotion, you'll abandon everything every time it gets uncomfortable. But if your life is led by purpose, by calling, you'll stand up again and again, even when there's no applause, no sign, and no guarantee. And in that process, you become dangerous to the enemy. Because once you learn how to walk in faith, once you stop needing constant reassurance and start trusting God's silence as much as His voice, you become unstoppable. Not because you don't feel fear, but because fear no longer controls you. Not because you always know the path, but because you finally surrendered the map. That's what preparation is doing. It's removing the parts of you that needed validation and replacing them with conviction. Don't forget that the greatest warriors were always forged in isolation. David didn't become a king in the palace. He became one in the field when no one was watching. Moses didn't find his voice in front of crowds. He found it in exile. Even Jesus, before performing miracles, spent 40 days in the wilderness. Why do we think we'll be any different? Why do we think we can skip the silence, the storms, the solitude, and still expect to carry power? You're not just being prepared for the next opportunity. You're being prepared to carry weight, spiritual, mental, emotional. You're being raised up to lead, to build, to heal, to speak life into others who feel like you feel right now. But how could you ever guide someone out of a valley you've never walked through? That's why you're here. That's why it hurts. You're not just being developed, you're being qualified. And soon, very soon, things will shift. Not all at once, not in fireworks and fanfare, but little by little, you'll feel it. A strength rising where there used to be fear. A clarity where there used to be confusion. A peace that doesn't even make sense given your circumstances. And when that day comes, you'll look back and realize the version of you who wanted to quit didn't. And because of that, everything changed. So breathe. Don't rush it. Don't despise it. This pain is sacred. This pause is holy, because when God finishes what He started, the blessing won't just change your life. It'll change generations after you. And all of it, every second of silence, every delay, every no, will have been worth it. And when that moment finally comes, it won't feel like a climax. It won't feel like some grand celebration. It will feel like peace. A deep anchored peace that tells you, I made it through what should have broken me. You won't need to announce it. You won't need to prove anything to anyone. The people who doubted you, the ones who left when it got quiet, they'll see it in your eyes, in your presence, in the quiet authority you now carry, because the crown you wear won't be made of gold. It'll be made of endurance, and that can't be bought. That can't be fake. That's the reward of walking through the fire without losing your faith. That's what happens when you stay grounded through the weight. When you let the delay make you better instead of bitter. When you realize you don't need validation anymore because you've been validated in the private places where only God sees. And when you reach that version of yourself, you won't care about the timeline. You won't care about what you didn't get or when it didn't happen. Because what you did gain, wisdom, strength, unshakable trust, that will be the true treasure. You'll start to notice that the things you once prayed for, begged for, cried over, they no longer control you. You've outgrown the desperate version of yourself that thought success would fix everything. You now realize that success is not what happens to you, it's what happens in you. It's how you carry yourself in droughts, how you love when you're not loved back, how you believe even when everything in the natural says you shouldn't. That's real power. That's preparation. That's the mark of someone God can trust with more. And trust me, He will give you more. But not until you stop needing it to feel enough. Not until your identity is rooted in something deeper than outcomes. He blesses the version of you that no longer chases blessings. The version that serves, that surrenders, that shows up with humility instead of entitlement. And when you become that person, the things you once chased will start chasing you. Doors will open. Opportunities will come, but you won't be desperate for them anymore. You'll simply walk through them ready. That's the irony of it all. You were never waiting on a moment. You were never waiting on a breakthrough. You were waiting to become. That's why it took time. That's why the silence was necessary. Not to torture you, but to transform you, to shape you into someone who doesn't just get the blessing, but keeps it. Someone who doesn't just rise, but remains. Someone who doesn't just inspire, but lead. So don't give up now. Don't walk away when the breakthrough is one more test away. Don't mistake fatigue for failure. You're not finished. You're being refined. And everything you've gone through, every delay, every heartbreak, every lonely day. It's all part of your resurrection story. The version of you that's coming will walk in rooms the old you would have crumbled in. Speak words the old you didn't believe. Carry peace the old you had to beg for. You are not behind. You are not forgotten. You are not being punished. You are being prepared. Heaven has not overlooked you. God is not late. His timing is exact because the mission on your life is eternal. So stay the course. Stay hidden if you must. Stay faithful when it's silent. Stay pure when no one is watching. Because this season is not in vain. It is sacred. It is strategic, and it will be the reason why when you finally step into everything that's meant for you, you'll do it with power, with grace, and with fire in your soul that nothing in this world can put out. And someday you'll thank this season not for how it felt, but for what it built. You'll remember the nights when you had nothing but a whisper of hope left in you, and somehow that was enough. You'll remember the mornings when you woke up tired of the weight, but carried it anyway. You'll remember the days you wanted to disappear, but chose to be seen by God instead of people. That version of you, the one that no one celebrated, the one that held on in the dark, is the version that made everything else possible. That's the version that birthed the strength you now stand in. Because this journey you're on, it isn't just about making it, it's about becoming unshakable. It's about becoming someone who can walk through fire and come out with a testimony instead of smoke. Someone who's been tested, refined, and proven without needing to scream for attention. That's what God is building in you. That's why the delay hurt, because it's not just time passing, it's pressure working. It's purpose forming, it's weight being added to your name, not so people can praise you, but so heaven can trust you. And when God can trust you, the world changes around you. Not because you're perfect, but because you're ready to carry the calling without it crushing you. Ready to walk through open doors without needing to be seen. Ready to speak life into others without needing to be heard. That's when you know the preparation is complete. Not when life gets easier, but when your spirit gets deeper. You'll begin to feel it, your old habits breaking, your old doubts dying. The fear that used to stop you now becomes fuel. You won't need hype. You won't need a crowd. You'll have something greater, conviction. That quiet, unwavering fire inside that says, I've been through too much to stop now. And the people around you, they'll feel it. They won't even be able to explain why your presence shifts the room. But you'll know it's not you. It's what God placed inside of you during the years no one was clapping, no one was watching, and you were still showing up. That's the reward of staying faithful in hidden season. Not applause, not fame, but power, authority, depth. And that kind of power cannot be copied. It cannot be faked because it came at a cost. The cost of letting go of your timeline. The cost of surrendering your pride. The cost of walking through fire while everyone else watched from a distance. But because you didn't quit, you gained something eternal, something unshakable, something unbreakable. So walk with your head high, not because life is perfect, but because you know who's writing your story. Speak with boldness, not because you have all the answers, but because you've learned to trust in the one who does, and love with intensity. Not because you haven't been hurt, but because your healing made you stronger. You are not the same. You'll never be the same. And thank God for that. Because the old you couldn't carry what's coming. Everything you've walked through was for this next season. The silence, the heartbreak, the confusion, the loneliness, it all had purpose. You didn't miss anything. You weren't left behind. You were in the hands of a God who loves you too much to rush you. And when he finally brings the blessing, you won't have to fight for it, chase it, or beg for it. You'll simply walk into it, prepared, poised, and ready. And if this message found you in a season of silence, of waiting, of questioning, then you already know it wasn't random. It was meant for you. So tell me in the comments, I'm not delayed. I'm being prepared. Write it boldly, because speaking it is the first step to stepping into it. And if your heart's still hungry for truth, don't stop here. The next video will shake you to your core. Click it now and let it remind you why God didn't bring you this far just to leave you.